Good evening. Welcome to Resource PNG. Alluvial Gold Mining has been in PNG for quite some time. Captain Moresby reported minor amounts of gold in the hills surrounding what is now Port Moresby Harbour in 1873. The Port Moresby discovery was not worked until 1877, when the first gold rush started involving 100 European miners who mined the Laloki and other rivers inland from Port Moresby. In 1888, mining effectively commenced in Papua New Guinea with the discovery of payable gold in Sudest Island, near Misima Island in Milne Province. The Moresby goldfield was then discovered in 1922, which continued to operate till the Second World War. It was a world-class goldfield by the standards of the time, reaching a peak production of 8.5 tons per year of gold in 1942. The Mount Kara gold rush then became the scene during the late 80s. Since PNG awaits another such rush to rekindle the interest in small-scale mining. Meanwhile, the government has recognized the importance of this industry for the rural economy, and significant steps are being taken to provide more education, extension and training facilities to the grassroots miners. The Mineral Resources Authority's Small-Scale Mining Training Centre, SSMTC in Port Moresby Province, is one such initiative. On tonight's program, we look at how the MRA has responded to the need to educate and impart special mining techniques to the local people. Much attention and media coverage has been focused on large-scale mining in Papua New Guinea. Mining at a smaller scale is an everyday activity carried out by many local people around the country where there is some form of mineral deposits. According to the PNG Mineral Resource Authority, 2011 was the peak year in which revenue generated by alluvial mining totaled up to 360 million kina, which was legally exported through a licensed gold exporter. The amount generated last year in terms of production was significantly similar. However, due to 28% reduction in the gold price, the revenue had decreased to 298 million kina.
We have at the moment 469 tenements in Papua New Guinea that are associated with alluvial mining. And of those, more than half, 261, are what we call historic conversion tenements that are still to be processed, and we're embarking on that process over the next few months, but it will take possibly up to a year to complete it. And of those tenements, the key ones are alluvial mining leases, of which there are 87, and there are currently 109 under application.
When we talk about mining leases, we have two different sorts of mining leases. One is for small-scale mining purposes, and one, as we all know, is for large-scale mining purposes, that is hard rock mining, of which we can give an example of Pogera, Okteri, Lear. When we talk about mining leases for small-scale mining purposes, it is also prioritized to the local landowners themselves, of which they can acquire. If they have the financial capability, they can develop it into a full-scale mechanized small-scale mining. If they don't have the financial capabilities, they can acquire investors or developers to come and help them to develop their mining leases.
Seeing the need to educate and impart special mining techniques to the local people, a division called the National Small-Scale Mining Centre was established within the Mineral Resource Authority. The European Union funded the project, and construction of the infrastructure began in 2007 for the small-scale mining branch situated in Port Moresby Province. Classrooms, messing facilities, dormitory ablution blocks, administration blocks and staff accommodation units were built at an approximate cost of 10 million kina. Upon completion of the buildings, the centre accepted its first batch of local participants in 2009. The European Union then handed over the training centre to MRA in October 2010 to fully manage this centre thereafter.
After the turnover of the European Union, which is way back on November 2010, MRA take full control and all expenses here were shouldered by MRA. And my operating budget starting on 2011 is only 300,000. Then it come up with 400,000 on 2012, and last year it a bit more on 600,000 because we covered a lot of outreach program nationwide. The purpose of establishing the National Small Scale Mining Training Center is it's a government part of poverty alleviation program through education of small scale miners of PNG, because we believe that an educated miner is one thing that will help the economy of Papua New Guinea. And we have to mobilize, identify, and register small-scale miners. In this institution, we issued IDs and we can monitor them as well. Same mining methods and safe mining methods, and minimize environmental damage and restoration. We have an environmental module for this, and the bottom line of the training is to increase their productivity using proven processing techniques and SSM small-scale mining equipment, and thereby improving living conditions of rural people.
More of this documentary after the break. Welcome back. We've seen how the European Union funded component of the MRA, the National Small Scale Mining Training Centre, has recognized the need to educate local people about special mining techniques. In this segment, we look at how the MRA is meeting its challenge of reaching out to approximately 70,000 small-scale miners in PNG. Having a small but significant input to the economy, the challenge for the small-scale mining branch is to reach out to the approximate 70,000 small-scale miners in PNG to assist them to increase productivity by using modified techniques in a safe and efficient way. Training modules were created by elite individuals who are actively involved in research and possess extensive knowledge in various fields of expertise. The small-scale mining branch currently has 8 qualified trainers who teach the course in simplified versions to suit the literacy level of the local people.
This is part of the small-scale mining sector support program grant, and the developers of these modules is the European Union consultants, and they give guidance to the hired supposed to be trainers for this institution. The supposedly students and participants of this small-scale mining training center were focused on the leaseholders, but then it's not included in the Mining Act, so we cannot force them. So we are opening it to everybody who's interested to come, and we can my trainers will go down to their levels, because most of these small-scale miners were illiterate, and my trainers, they're having a module to go down to their level so that they will understand what is all about for the training course.
The training basically involves classroom-based theory as well as practicals, which we take the participants outside. In classrooms, we take them through PowerPoint presentations. Plus, there are classroom activities and practicals which we give them. Otherwise, for practicals that are outside of classroom, it more or less involves mining and processing techniques plus practices that most small-scale miners are employing. So that is basically the kind of training we offer here. In all, we have 11 modules. Some are only offered in level 1. Most are brought over to level 2 and 3. So we have history of mining, legislation which covers mining law, environment, and occupational health and safety laws. And then we also provide training in geology, in prospecting, OHS, environment, business, as well as gender and HIV, which are social issues. We are in the process of writing up our assessment criteria and policy that will be implemented fully soon. But we are also wary that there are some who are illiterate. They have never gone on to completing the grade 10 or to college or university. So assessment is very, very simple. Questions that they can answer on paper, or otherwise, practical-wise, we take them out for practical activity and we assess them just by observing how they carry out instructions and do what we ask them to do. The challenge, as we mentioned, is literacy. We accept participants. Some have never gone to school, some have gone to universities. They do end up here, and the way we attend to this is that the delivery of our modules are done in Tokpisina, which is, as I claim, our national language now. And a lot of people in the remote places, as well as educated people, understand Pidgin. But the modules are written in English, but we explain to them in Pidgin, Tokpidgin. So it is assimilated. The information that we disseminate, the knowledge that we try to get across to them is easily grasped.
We continue where we left off after the break. You're with Resource PNG. Continuing tonight's feature on small-scale mining in PNG, we've seen how the MRA, with the support of the European Union, has set up the Small-Scale Mining Training Centre, SSMTC, in Port Moresby Province, to address the need to educate local miners about techniques in small-scale mining. In this segment, we hear from some of the trainees who have benefited from the training centre.
At the back here, at the background, these are students from the Small-Scale Mining Training Centre. And these guys have undergone a week training course in theory in the classroom at the centre. So basically what they're doing out here is they are practical. After they had undergone the theory part in mining and processing, they're out here on the second week to demonstrate what they have learned in the classroom. At the same time, the trainers out there who are participating with them assessing what they are doing, see if they really capture the concept about mining and processing. And the place where we are now standing is Kuranga Creek. It is the place where the first mining began when William Shakai Park discovered the first gold in 1922. When they come out into the field, what we assess them on is the panning techniques, because that is exactly what I have learned in the classroom, panning technique and sluicing techniques. So as you can see at the back, they're doing sluicing and panning at the same time. And they have to also know how to elevate the sluice boxes, the gradient of the water flow, and the gradient of the sluice box. So all this we have to assess them and to make sure that they are qualified.
Everything that we do out in the field is what we teach them inside the classroom. These are very, very important components of the sluice box. This is called riffle, and this is the mat. What the riffle does is it slows down the water, and since gold is heavy, it falls into the holes here, and it gets trapped in the carpet here. So there's no, unless there's plenty of water, the gold gets washed out. But if not, it's all trapped in here. And after the day's work, We slow down the water like this, and then remove the riffle. Or in Pidgin we call it kanda. Remove that, and then by the time there's plenty of gold in here. After the morning's work, there's plenty of gold. So what we do, we handle this properly, slow the water down, and then what we do is we turn the mat like this, and then hit it like this, so that once you do that, you get all the gold and whatever light sand is in there gets onto the boat, sluice box, and then it's washed down here. But before you do that, there should always be a gold pen at the end, so that you get all the gold into the gold pen. And then you do the penning.
Okay, fighting memusem. हमको fight is strong. उधर से जो बोला था. Now kita kanin ko down there. This is why some now. Au mipla laini mantap lo, MRL lo, training center, coach room lam laksime, all laini mipla lo bomb lam make you also. So now mipla walk him now. Small. Simple mining. Simple mining. Technique mipla make him. Au blow okay simple mining. Lo Alluvial deposit gold.
After the practical session at the river, two main processes called amalgamation and retorting are then taught back at the training centre.
These trainee miners are penning the concentrates that they collected from the river. And they are going to fine pen this, and when they see that the gold is a bit exposed, then they can add mercury into the sand.
It is during this process that safety is again emphasized. Participants are encouraged to use gloves when handling mercury, ensure sand is moist enough to avoid being exposed to mercury fumes, and the proper disposal of mercury. Participants are also taught that mercury can be extracted after the amalgamation process and be kept for future use.
Firstly, he has to wear this disposable glove first, just to make handling easier. And then after that, he wears the thicker glove for mixing the sand with the mercury. Okay, so he's now mixing the mercury in the concentrate. And what's going to happen in there is that mercury is going to amalgamate gold. This is the amalgam that's going to go to the next process, which is called retorting. What we're basically doing here, the amalgam is here. So what the trainee is doing here is he's going to wrap. He's wrapping the mercury gold in the leaf, and then he's going to put it onto this small tin. And then after that, he will cover the small tin with the amalgam gold with a big tin. In this process, there is no very little amount of mercury has escaped in this process somehow. But like I said in the beginning, 99.7% of mercury is recovered in this process. If the color of gold turns out like this, then the buyers won't like it. They won't buy it because it's dirty. All right. So what the miner has to do, And the miners, just through experience, they already know that when the gold turns out like this, they have to repeat the same process again. Go back, break it down again with a stone or whatever in a gold pan, throw mercury in there, amalgamate the whole thing again, and then bring it to the dish and the tin fish tin to retort it again to get a yellow color. So they already know, by true experience, they know that they must get a yellow color. That's the color of gold. And only when the color of gold is nice, yellowish, then the buyer would like to go for it. What we're going to do now is we're going to collect all this waste, starting from the amalgamation process to the retorting process, all the waste here. For the sand, it has to be panned for mercury to be recovered or retrieved back. And for the waste from the waste sand and the wastewater will have to be buried in the ground. We think that it is safer to bury mercury back in the ground because that's where it belongs rightfully. So as long as mercury is deposited or is buried in an area that is cool, it will always be safe. It will not evaporate, but it will remain in the ground. And the trees also, of course, they need that as part of their food.
We'll be back with more when we return. Thanks for staying with us on Resource PNG. If you have just joined us, we are continuing our feature on small-scale mining in PNG, an activity that sustains livelihoods of many rural mining communities, boosts the local economy, and contributes significantly to the revenue of the country. Small-scale mining is a growing industry in PNG and is also a problem to many large multinational mining companies when it comes to legal issues, and more specifically illegal mining. Realizing this, the Mineral Resources Authority, MRA, of Papua New Guinea, a statutory body that regulates all mining activities in the country, with funding assistance from the European Union, established the Small-Scale Mining Training Centre, SSMTC, to train small-scale miners to overcome shortfalls in the industry. SSMTC was established in 2009 and consists of 8 qualified trainers with different backgrounds and qualifications conducting trainings for about 11 modules. There are 4 levels of training, and so far SSMTC has trained participants in level 1 and 2, and to date it has passed out close to 3,015 participants. After completion of each level, a student is given a certificate of attainment, level 1, which is the basic level and prerequisite to other levels. So far since its inception, the Small-Scale Mining Training Centre has trained well over 3,015 participants, mainly in level 1 and 2. According to the Small-Scale Mining Branch Manager, Mr. Al Comparativo, the training can be provided at various provinces if respective provincial and local level governments provide support in facilitating the training for their local people.
We are targeting really the active small-scale miners of Papua New Guinea. So we are encouraging the local level government because they know their people. They can organize, give the venue, give them food and accommodation for the participants, and they will send us a letter, and I'll send one team of outreach trainers. The MRA participation will give the training allowance for our staff, the trainers, and the transport. So it's co-funded both by the local level government and MRA, and that co-fund from the local level government, they can take ownership of that training.
Apart from MRA funding, the Small-Scale Mining Branch receives support from few organizations in the form of sponsorship of the students' course fees and transport arrangements.
During the European Union days, the barrack is really active because of the Kainan 2 project, but then after it was closed. So what we experience is some provinces like Simbu, Madang, and Mailna Bay province, they sponsored their students. But I'm so glad and appreciated the participation of MMJV, which sent already 260 students for the past 2 years. And the involvement of this sponsorship is like sending the students here in WOW Training Center, pay this training fee, and pick them and bring them to their villages. We have a pilot project in Octedi mining. Started way back in 2011. It will be a joint venture between the PNG SDP, the MRA, the OTML, the Octedi mining. The purpose of this is to educate and train small-scale miners of Octedi River for sustainability after closure of the mine. And we conducted a TNA, conducted 3 batches of level 1 training on site in Ningirom, and a total of 97 small-scale miners were certified. Trained 104 small-scale miners to operate, troubleshoot, dredgers, and high bunkers. Identified, modified a high bunker suitable for Octedi River deposit. Because the deposit in Octedi River is a given one. It's a waste, they dump it from the mine site, they dump it through the Octedi River, and we can obtain dust gold deposit there, which is already milled and then dumped on site. And the only thing that we need is to extract it in a proper equipment, which we tested and identified this high bunker. We call it modified because we modify the sluice box attached to the high bunker. It's depend on the length and the mattings of the sluice box. And the project endorses and will fabricate 6 units of modified high bunker for distribution to 6 clan tribe of small-scale miner of Octedi Riverine. The project will be refunded at the cost of modified high bunker by clan from their production earnings. That's the construction of the sluice box, the extended one, the length, 1 length of a plywood. That's the matting that we modify so that it will trap more dust gold, and that's the trial of the water if it goes, and the high bunker is at the back. Actual operation of a modified high bunker, women is really participating. More women miners are involved in Octedi River, and this is the result. Out of 4 hours operation, we garnered around 41 grams of gold. Dust gold, no mercury usage there. So that's a pure gold.
The Octedi pilot project concluded last year because PNG SDP withdrew the funding for it. So that project has come to an end at this stage. The approximate amount that had been spent up to then was, from memory, about 600 to 700,000 kina. And the allocation was 100,000 kina from MRA and 2 million from PNG SDP. The MRA contribution is significantly more than 100,000 because we are managing the project and providing the training and personnel to support the project. The project had, despite the withdrawal of the funding by PNG SDP, the project had probably come to a reasonably natural end. We were still going to continue to monitor it for another 18 months or so and provide additional training and additional facilitation to the communities that were involved. But because it was recognised following the testing of the equipment that we had used that non-mechanised equipment was the best for that particular environment, because Octedi is known for its very fine gold in the river. So equipment called a high banker, which is a non-mechanised form of sluice arrangement, was seen to be better than any of the mechanised dredging machines, etc. It was returning greater recovery from the river in terms of gold, and I think the project had recovered approximately 549 grams at that point. Because of that, and the requirement to then apply for a lease or leases for the communities to continue mining is not necessary, because under the Mining Act 1992 it is not necessary to hold a lease if you are a local landowner and operating within 20 metres of a riverbank with non-mechanised equipment. So therefore they can continue to mine alluvially, provided it is non-mechanised. If they decided to then commence a mechanised operation, which is often done in joint venture, with a partner who will provide the equipment, the finance and the technical skills, then they would require a lease. But that's a matter they can do at any time.
More of this documentary after the break. Welcome back to Resource PNG. We continue our report on small-scale mining.
Ori expect go through na, ori lanim pa go through. Sem ori totok na bot no ka rod starting where mi pa katan book. Na bianin o totok na mi kolo house mi starting na mi give me more input lot thinking. O I mean na blue thinking on so something. So mi no clear long ta so now school line mi osem mi karsa now. Mi pick bla amas no go through before mi think osem mi osem ta sol. O MRM was more working my minus station na all got to gold minus small scale gold minus station. Now me come here, me line him na plus something more. Where MLA all stative is a good to something.
Me attending two levels, level 1 ego level 2. Na level 1 me line him all basic tasol, lo small scale mining. Level 2 me line him deep click. Na me line him plenty or good plus something. Na slam alvi mi lo improving mol work gold blomi. Na plan something we minus save before. And time become lo tuplo level sa mi line in planti, so now mi work lo apply mol lo save mi kisim lo training blomi. Before no got training straight lo mining mi bla kisim tasol save lo ol papa ol big lo line blomi lo sa work gold before mi bla look lol how making work. Mi bla look hare mol tok na mi bla line him. So mi bla no bin good bla training lo. So something mi bla use him lo time lo walk. And mi bla think tasol na mi bla look tasol na mi lo make him. Sometimes mi bla make him em straight em karangi tasol mi bla think em alright mi bla make him tasol. Tasol behind lo training mi kam mi look sa lo something mi bla make him straight. Sometimes em right mi bla make him so. Something em halvi mi bla good. Time mi bla kam lo training. Planti something kind of some up where goal to stop lo wara time wara ron lo em goal to stop people sample mi bla nuclear people just walk ta solo wara na bla looking goal mi bla kisim but how la goal stop now lap area where stop mi bla nuclear how na goal come stop osam but time mi bla kam lo training na mi bla look sawe okay time wara ron is la all certain areas where goals go deposit na stop lem ya mo mi bla kam line lo ya mi bla go pekan bla look sawe okay em slap mi ga goal kind of some corner lo wara up we will travel stone siran lo em kind of something wara go na kala boran lo em kala lem em sa make him some wara round as lagan em miga to goal time so time blagam lo mikam lo training na mi look save so mi go back na mi to ko some okay mi line him up we goal stop lem mi line him now so mi can mi look save lo one him up goals stop so me make him alvi mi lo look save arab lo kisim goal na kind of so past time me just walk the soul gas fire na mi walk lo like now mi line him lo training na mi look sa some halfway goal stop le mi walk na isi lo kisim past time mi sa walk lo like blomi time mi walk him all walk goal mi no got clear thinking lo how lo look out him walk goal lo mi sa walk lo like so time mi kam lo training now mi line him side lo management or some look out him money na kind of some budget so mi line him click now mi time mi go back now Me make him all work below me work him all budget, na me work lo behind him all budget, na make him all work. Challenges belum bela kain, also me bela lo here lo wow na iri kere kem, all people all challenges or risk we just face him I think lo face something side lo salim all awesome side lo marketing I think awesome lo salim go la. Some time no got all man awesome buyers who stop close to Lumibla.
The only regulation in the sector is obviously the requirement for applying for a lease, an alluvial mining lease or a mining lease for alluvial purposes under the Mining Act, and the exporting of gold, as I've mentioned, which is controlled through the Bank of Papua New Guinea licensing process. As far as gold buying, as far as mining in a non-mechanised method on your own land, then Papua New Guineans can do that as of right at any time, provided that they undertake it safely and in an environmentally conscious way. I mentioned that the prospect of increasing significantly the revenue and production from alluvial mining. Now what that will need is, I think, a level of regulation, but I would call it light touch regulation, which has better control of the alluvial sector and an outline, in other words, prescription and regulation of the processes that are needed to be able to secure an alluvial mining lease. For instance, the environmental requirements, the safety requirements, the mining operational requirements, and the manner in which you really take the gold from source to sale. But if we can do that, which will then mean that the sector will be far more enticing for investors to become involved, to joint venture with local miners and increase production, and that will increase the revenue.
More of the show when we come back. You're watching Resource PNG. In this last segment of our report on small-scale mining in PNG, we see how interested applicants can apply to the small-scale mining training centre in WOW. There are also challenges for the small-scale mining branch.
As what we all know, WOW is a remote area, and we will be isolated when rainy days come, in addition to Kumalo flooding. So that's one thing that discourages participants, because we are also the paramount concern of the school is the safety of the travel of the students. And the funding also for our school, it needs more for us to carry on outreach program. The tribal fighting recently last year and the previous year, it added to our concerns, especially on the safety of the participants. So it affected really the numbers who enrolled here for the past 2 years.
There are a couple of initiatives that we embarked on last year which have proved to be very successful, and we will continue through our small-scale mining branch in WOW. And that is that instead of having an emphasis on training programs internally at the centre, we commenced an outreach program where 30 outreach training sessions were conducted last year, and they took the team to almost every part of Papua New Guinea, because alluvial mining is available, the resources there throughout the country. So that's an important initiative which we want to see continued, and to also be able to step up into level 2 and develop level 3 and level 4 programs. The centre has now been approved as a training centre nationally, so that's another advantage. And then in order to promote the potential increase in the sector, we're holding what we're calling the inaugural Papua New Guinea Alluvial Mining Convention, which will be associated with a trade fair to be held at the Lay International Hotel, the new convention centre, in September of this year. So we're planning for that at the moment, starting to call for sponsors and advertisers, and then we'll roll out the program for that later. And that's intended to bring everyone in the industry together, including overseas investors, so that we can exchange ideas and plan for the future.
Interested applicants can contact the Small Scale Mining Branch in WA for further information on the on-site and outreach trainings. That ends Resource PNG. If you have any comments or queries, do email us on this address, resourcepng@mtv.com.pg, or to find out more, check MTV online. That's www.mtv.com.pg, and go to our Resource PNG page, or you can check our page on Facebook. Thanks for your company. Bye for now.